So welcome to Race 1918. I was going to do a wee video this morning and ended up getting sidetracked, got a bit busy. It is what it is, you know what I mean. Couple of things. Want to touch on the West Ham game last night. Want to touch on us, the Leeds fans, the club, Farke, things like that. First of all, looking ahead to the weekend, Friday we have West Ham, obviously, massive game for ourselves and for them. Last night didn't go their way at all. Um, but it heaps pressure on the result on Friday night. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. A point for each side or either side isn't great. And the reason being is West Ham have 4 points. Bottom of the table, they're absolutely dire. That performance last night against Brentford it really was abysmal. Um, But for ourselves, it's not necessarily a point against West Ham that will be the worst part. It will be after that. After the 6 games that run after the West Ham game is huge. Brighton and Forest before the international break. Forest have appointed Dyche today. Massive. Because I think he will galvanise them. He's a Nottingham lad, I think. Or he came through their academy. So he has that sort of fight in him. We know Dyche. I think personally people sleep on him and all the rest, and they can say what they want to say about Dyche on his Everton time and all that. But let's be honest, the squad that Forest have assembled over the last 2 years, they've spent 180 million odd in the summer past in that window. Dyche has gone into a completely different beast than he did do with Everton. So I'd be concerned, maybe not necessarily right away, but after that international break, I think there's big things. I think Forest are going to be good. They're fine. This weekend after the game, myself and my father are going to react after the game, the West Ham game. Um, my father's never been on the channel, obviously. So it'll be nice to see, the two of us actually been able to sit and have a conversation. And he's from a generation of, like, he grew up in the Revy, sort of the 70s and 80s, He's seen highs and lows before that we could even dream of highs and lows, or ups and downs. So that'll be interesting too. But the West Ham game for me is huge. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a reaction tomorrow after the press conference with Daniel Farke. I am hoping and praying that man does not come out and say that is not a 6 pointer, because with those 6 games, especially the two after this West Ham game, it really is. It is a 6 pointer. As I say, we have Brighton and Forest, then international break. Then you're coming back from the international break. You've got Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, City. The way we're playing, not necessarily the way defensively we're playing, although there are concerns. I just don't see where we can pick up points in those 6 games. I think against Brighton and Forest we can do something. In Villa we can maybe do something there. The 3 games after that are they're as tough as they can come. For me, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the West Ham game this weekend, and then I'll sort of touch in depth on the other teams one by one. But West Ham, Brentford, completely dominated from start to finish. 22 shots to West Ham 7. West Ham had one on target. Brentford are not a great team. They're not a great team. They have a very good striker. I personally think we have a better team full strength than Brentford. The problem is full strength. My concern about West Ham and us going into West Ham is playing the occasion. We know we're under a bit of pressure because of the following game, so hopefully the lads play the 90 minutes and try to win the game. My main concern is this. We're looking at West Ham. We can see clearly that they're not a good team. They're not a good team at all. You know, from an attacking threat, they seem to have the same issues as ourselves. You know, 7 shots, 1 on target, 3 off target, and 3 blocked. You know, West Ham seem heavily reliant on the likes of set pieces. My problem is, so do we. You look at our last few games, especially the last game against Burnley, and let's be honest, they're not great either. They're really not good. But if you look at ourselves, if we don't have Okafor or Dan James back or Willie, where do we have that creative spark? Where does DCL have that sort of backup or help up front? You can play all the long balls you want. You can play all the crosses into DCL you want. But unfortunately, if you've got nobody near him, the man, he's up against 2 or 3 defenders every time. And it'll be no different against West Ham. If we play 4-3-3 and we play Harrison and Aronson, DCL's going to get nothing. He's going to win very little. And he'll maybe win a lot in the air, but he's not going to really get much purchase because there's going to be nobody around him. So a big thing for me is I think we'll have to look at that midfield. Those 3 in midfield have to be able to switch. And I don't think with Ampadu, Stack and Longstaff there's that capability. For me, one of them has to come out and Tanaka has to come in. I'm not saying Tanaka's their best midfielder or anything like that, but I think technically he is on the ball the best midfielder. Overall, I think you have to start looking at maybe Stack coming out. You start Longstaff and Ampadu, or you keep, and then Tanaka goes ahead of them and he plays sort of in a more advanced sort of role, like an 8, sort of morphing into like a 10, sort of to help DCL. My personal preference would be a 3-5-2. I've touched on it. I don't trust a strike at all in defence. I think Perry needs to come back into the nets. So I'm not going to go through everything all that, again, but 3-5-2 to me, with the way things are at the minute, it just makes sense with what we have available to us. And to be honest with you, it may be out there, but if we've got Brendan Aronson and we have a choice on the right of Brendan Aronson or anybody else who's fit, I would put Bogle out there and I'd play James Justin right back. If we're going to have to stick 4-3-3. But in a 3-5-2, Bogle and Gudmundsson, they provide the width, they provide the crosses. You can get an extra man up there in the match or Perot and behind DCL. Your midfield doesn't really need to be changed. But your back 3, ultimately, your back 3 can take care of itself. Bijol comes in. He plays alongside Strike. Somebody commented on a video, one of my videos, about, he doesn't think Bijol can come in, in the last game. My point is, when does he come in then? When do you put Bijol in? Do you put Bijol in, you wait until after the international break and then stick him in against Liverpool City, where you know you're going to get beat? Or do you put him in now and garner a partnership alongside maybe Rodon and Strike and play the 3? Or do you just drop Strike and put him in alongside Rodon? Rodon is an absolute stalwart. He stays, obviously. It's just a matter of which one, or do we play 2? But my question to a few people is this: if you don't play the likes of Bijol, who we've spent money on, who was the best defender in Italy outside of their top 2 or 3 clubs, if we don't play him against the likes of a West Ham or a Burnley, when do you play him? Because I'll tell you, Darlow, Championship; Bogle, Championship; Strike, Championship; Rodon, Championship; Gudmundsson was the only new player that has played regularly in that back 5. We've spent 60 million quid on that defence, and we have only We're only playing one out of all the new signings. At what point do we admit that this is wrong? This is something where I want to move on to. We've got to address that. So hopefully I'll be able to address that tomorrow when the presser comes out. Hopefully Daniel actually doesn't waffle as much as he usually does. One thing I want to say is this, and I always caveat what I say. I don't want Farke to fail, because if he fails, we fail. The problem is, looking forward, I can't see where he wins. Not under his tactics and not under his leadership style, his decision making, his lineups, his anything. My concern is this: where do you go from here? If you were to sack Daniel Farke now, who do you bring in? The issue is, I raised Dyche in the last video, and we see that he's away to Forest today. So for the most of us, would probably be looking at, let's look at a Premier League type manager, a manager that's managed at the top flight in England. There's not an awful lot that people would want in. You're talking about Sam Allardyce and Steven Gerrard and Brendan Rodgers, and let's be honest, Brendan Rodgers is hated by half the fan base at Celtic. Steven Gerrard, he's failed at Villa. Brendan Rodgers failed at Leicester as well, by the way. Sam Allardyce we're not even going down that line. So realistically, I'm going to throw a name out there that I think he's absolutely flying, but he would definitely need some time and support. But I think he would do a good job, and that's Liam Rosenior. Strasbourg, I think, are currently top of the French league. Would I go for him? Does Liam Rosenior or somebody like that bring in more than Daniel Farke is showing right now? Tactically, possibly, yeah. Now, the other side of it is, do you go for somebody like a Rafa Benitez? Now, again, that's going to split fans, because some people say he's too negative, some people will be like too conservative, some people will go with the reputation and say, yes, absolutely, go for Rafa. But I'm split on that, because I don't know. There's not a huge amount of people jumping out at me. I see a number of people linking different managers and all, but it depends what you're looking for. And the 49ers have definitely a few questions that they have got to get answers to. And one of them is being, can we afford to stick with Farke for the next 7 games, including the West Ham game, going into the 14th of December? And the reason why I ask it at that point is because 7 games, those 7 games that brings you up to the 14th of December, that's 21 points. It's feasible. No matter what happens at West Ham, it's feasible that we aren't in double figures for points come the 14th of December. And you're giving yourself a real upward battle right now after this West Ham game. That's 9 games. People said at the beginning of the season, you give him 5 games, you give him 8 games, you give him 10. We're in a decent position right now. We're not in an amazing position. We're coming into a really bad run of games, difficult run of games. So do you stick with him or do you twist? Like, Dyche, to be honest with you, would have been a very good appointment in my opinion. Do you go for Ange Postecoglou? Absolutely not. That's signing your own suicide note, in my opinion. For me, we gotta get through this. I think he's under more pressure, as in Daniel Farke, this weekend coming into this West Ham game than anybody knows. Because the 49ers have got to be looking at this really in depth. The thing is as well, they've got to be looking at his tactics. They've got to be looking at his decisions, in-game decisions. They've got to be looking at how the fans react. Like, I've been speaking to a few fans that I know who go to the games regularly. Like, I live here in Northern Ireland, so I only go to a few games a season, obviously. But I know a few people that go regularly, and they're saying the same thing about some fans in the ground, and they're not. They're there's some look. He's going to have the support, but he's also losing a lot of support of the regulars. This is like the everyday match going crowd. There's people now not happy with his tactics, and they're questioning him and his leadership, and like I just don't understand the whole look. If you look back to the last game against Burnley, it's just that should not be acceptable. The teams that we're going to be up against from now to the end of the season is going to be Burnley's going to be down there. They're a shite team, so Burnley's going to be down there. We are going to be down there. Brentford will be down there because they're not a great team. Yet they battered West Ham. West Ham will be down there. Wolves will be down there. We have to be the best of a bad bunch. There's about 4 or 5 teams. The rest are a lot better. Nottingham Forest will not be down there. Nottingham Forest, once they're galvanised and get back together, Daesh will galvanise them and get them up the table. I think this here is where people will turn a corner on Sean Daesh. Sean Daesh will bring Nottingham Forest back. They'll finish comfortably mid-table. Comfortably mid-table. And next season, Forest will be a proposition because of the investment they put in this season. Their squad is a very, very good squad. So that leaves us with the likes of Wolves, West Ham, Brentford. 3 clubs that have been in the Premier League for a long time. Those 3 clubs are going to invest. We have to invest. We know where our feelings are. Sunderland, we are praying that they have a really poor sort of Christmas. We play them 27th of December, I think. If we play on 27th of December, they're going to be losing at least 7, well, up to 7 players. We're hoping, and in that time, they could be playing 5 or 6 games. If that's the case, we need Sunderland to drop like a stone as well. But they're 6 points ahead of us right now. So, and we're going into a really shit run of games. So this is bringing me back to the West Ham game. West Ham must win this game. Must win this game. Or what's going to happen is Nuno's going to be under massive pressure and he's only in the door. If we don't win this game, we're under massive pressure. People have to remember something. They give Daniel Farke time, give him time, and all the rest. We have won 2 league games in 8. And in total this season, we have won 2 in 9. We lost to a Sheffield Wednesday under 21 team. What concerns me, I saw a quote about Farke the other day. He said about he should have come in more focused, or in the game, the players. That's your fucking job, Daniel. If you weren't busy slating Rodon and other people in the media, well then, that. Why did you do that? Why did you feel the need to do that? I'll tell you why he felt the need to do that. I think he's being challenged by the players. I think the players need a leader, and I don't think Farke is the man. You can talk about his credentials in the Championship all you want, not in the Premier League. There's no stat in 3 seasons that he's had in the Premier League. There's no stat that backs him up. At this point, the only thing for me is, who do you go for? Do you go for a Corberan at Valencia? Do you try and get like a Cesc Fabregas at Como? I don't think that's going to happen. Do you try and maybe get Liam Rosenior? I don't know. But are they better than Farke? Personally, I give him this game. I'll be honest with you, I said it in the last video. You probably give him to the international break and you take it from there. And if we're in a position where we've lost 4 in a row, or we've got 1 point out of 4 games, you relieve him of his duties and you bring somebody in to get a good handle on the squad and to build. My father actually mentioned a really good one that I thought worth debating in Gareth Southgate. And I was like, he's been an England manager and an under-21 manager for 10 plus years. but he's had success. He can adapt tactically. People call them born for England, but they're not calling him not now. You got them to finals and competitions. He can play three at the back. He can play four at the back. It's a conversation to have, and he lives in, I believe it's either Harrogate or Halifax. I think it's Harrogate actually. Anyway, I will be on tomorrow after the presser with Farke. I will be on Friday after the game with my father. I might do a quick live after the game on Friday if anybody is up for it. If anybody wants to, or maybe do that Saturday morning. If anybody wants to give me any feedback on that, just give me a shout. Listen, thanks for watching. If you've got this far, I know it's a bit of a quick one. Quick one is 20 minutes. But like, comment, subscribe, do all the usual. Thanks for everybody that is subscribed to this point and watched the videos. There's more to come. Enjoy the shorts, all that. Anyway, race out, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow, and hopefully all's good.